Greetings, bub, and welcome to another episode of Remember the Hyphen. Show we look at comic books, movies, and everything in between. And,
You got any beer?
this is a school. If you haven't guessed already, welcome to the beginning of The Good, the Bad, and the Wolverine. This month where we look at every
Fucking X-Men
single
movie.
X-Men movie.
Because this is what I wanted for my birthday.
Yeah, so if you remember last year, around this time, we did all of the Fantastic Four films. Some were great.
Some were not so great. Some were kind of wild, honestly.
And some needed to turn on a fucking light. Actually, I can
No, don't do this.
I can reenact it. Hold on.
What the fuck you make me... Way to go, motherfucker. Put it back. Damn.
Alright, anyway. So yeah,
Yeah, so like in both our cases... In the case of both of us, it's been a while since we've seen some of these.
Yeah, and for me,
I think it's been like a decade since I'd seen X2.
Yeah.
For some reason. I don't know why.
I think the last time I watched any of the first three was like college. I've seen X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Sadly.
I've never seen the Wolverine because I had no fucking interest after X-Men Origins Wolverine, even though I know it's good. I'm not really an X-Men guy, so some of these this will be the first time I've watched them. I think I haven't seen Logan yet because I figured we were gonna review it anyways, so
You haven't seen Logan?
I don't think I have. I'm gonna watch it. You let me rent it, borrow it. I know what it's about, Colin, because I've seen Old Man Logan.
I don't know this man.
Oh, for fuck. You know I'm not an X-Men guy.
Bro, I don't give a fuck. That's a great movie. I didn't know. Anyway, get back on track, because I'm going to deal with you in a fucking second.
Of course, we're also not going to be watching the Deadpool films, because he doesn't really count them as X-Men films.
I kind of just viewed it as, we're just doing ones that are literally like X-Men or
X-Men.
Wolverine related.
Despite the fact that Deadpool is the best Colossus films.
No, I know.
It also has the best interpretation of the
I figured
Juggernaut.
we were going to do the Deadpool movies separately anyway.
Yeah, we will. I mean,
I didn't sit down and make you watch The Gifted.
Thankfully. No, I've just had to sit through Generation fucking X.
That was a year ago.
I don't care if it was a year ago. I sat through it.
So anyway, it had been a while for some of us to watch some of these movies.
And some of these are going to be first-time reviews for me.
Which, do you want to tell them about the experience with how ancient these DVDs are? So I loaned him the 3 DVD copies.
Because I don't have a Blu-ray player at the moment. So I needed to watch the first 3 because it's been forever since I've seen these, and I feel like I've seen the third one, but I think I've only ever seen it in parts. Because again, I'm not an X-Men guy, so I don't go out of my way to see these, even if they're really good. Some of these were coming out during college, and if they didn't show up at Barron when I was going there, I didn't see them either. But, so, he gives me this 3-pack with X-Men, X2, and The Last Stand.
Which I picked up at a thrift store.
Yeah.
I picked up somewhere. I just saw it. I was like, because I collect variants. I have one of the Raimi films that are like, it's a variant. I pick it up. I
pop these suckers in. And these are the most 2000s fucking DVDs I've ever fucking seen. It's got trailers for the first look at the Simpsons movie. It's got trailers for these films I barely fucking remember coming out because, almost every film of the early 2000s, aside from, Spider-Man, Daredevil, these, I don't fucking remember any of them. There was a trailer for Thank You for Smoking. Thank You for Smoking.
Oh, God, I remember that movie.
It has fucking Two-Face in
Adam,
it.
I remember that movie. I've seen, actually, a little bit of that film.
Yeah, Grant, I'm sure
it's
that
not
movie's...
very good.
Yeah.
It's not very fucking good.
It's very much an anti-smoking thing that really doesn't get how, the fucking smoking legislature gets it. Anyway,
He texts me, he's like, did you dig this up out of the Ark of the Covenant?
Fucking Covenant? These things are fucking ancient. Where'd you get these from, a morgue?
Listen, man, you wanted them on DVD, and these didn't have my copies. This is how I watched them, is I had my Blu-ray copies.
Yeah.
And these didn't have the DVDs in them. It was just 2-disc Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Which I don't even have First Class on DVD, so I gotta find a way for him to watch that. I gotta try to fix his PS4.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Because it's not on any of the other streaming. You know what it is on? It's on Hulu. Why is it on a fucking Hulu and not on the Disney Plus service? I don't fucking know.
Speaking of, almost none of these are on Disney Plus. I think the only one is like what, Age of Apocalypse?
X-Men 1 and 2, 3's not on it. Origins isn't on it. The Wolverine's on it. Days of Future Past is on it. Apocalypse is on it. I don't think
Days is on there?
Yeah, the regular Days, not the road cut.
Yeah, you want me to watch the road cut? Probably, if worst comes to worst, I'm gonna have to watch that version though. But
I mean, I'm gonna get your PS4 working. Don't worry.
But like,
I'm gonna get it working.
It's so hard to watch these, even though like Disney owns them, because like they're in like all these different places because of the fucking contracts, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's probably gonna be like at least a year or two, or
unless, like I said, because I'm going thrifting tomorrow morning. Maybe I'll run into First Class on DVD and be like, here, fucking watch it.
But yeah, like, so keep in mind, I'm not really an X-Men guy. He is. So like, I just want to say in advance, if I say I don't like things about these, it's my own personal taste. If I say I like the ones that I know other people don't like, because I probably will like First Class a little tiny bit.
Wrong. Wrong.
Like
because listen, when we get to it, I hate that fucking movie.
I know you do.
God damn, I hate that fucking movie.
I know you do. I know. But my point is, I'm not an X-Men guy. So just keep that in mind when we're going through these.
I'm just gonna take you in the sewers and impale your wings on the fucking wall. So then you gotta become an agent of Apocalypse.
Well, I didn't realize you were an anti-mutie. You gonna call me a mutie too? You gonna stick a fucking sentinel on me?
Oh my god, let's just get in the fucking movies, you animal. Anyway.
So
I guess I'll go ahead with my personal recollections of these and how I got into this. So the first one of these I actually ever watched was Last Stand. That was the first one. Like it's kind of funny how that was the first one, because you gotta remember I was young enough when these came out. You know, because like Spider-Man 1 and 2 came out right around the same time. You know, this was a year prior to Raimi 1. This was a year prior to Raimi 2. I never rented these.
Yeah.
At all.
Mm-hmm.
I never saw these until years later.
No.
My knowledge of these came from the fucking Ultimate Guide to X-Men, because it explained the entire plot in the book. So I was like, okay, cool, I know what's going on.
But you had that with you today.
Yeah, which it's in the backpack. I'm not gonna dig it out. But
yeah, fair.
Yeah, I'm not gonna dig it out, because that book was actually really my intro to X-Men, because like that was how I got into like knowing stuff, was because I read those essential guides all the time. Because I used to get them from the public library.
Yeah,
but
someone who had the Spider-Man one same.
Yeah, but when this came out, I actually had the DVD of this.
Yeah.
And I remember really, really liking this. And then years later, when I discovered the internet and stuff, and I was like, people don't like this movie?
Yeah, it's really going to be a point of contention when we talk about it tonight.
Because I'll defend it. I'll defend it more than First Class.
I don't like it, but I don't think it's as bad as the rest of the internet says it is, but it's still pretty bad.
It's still better than Dark Phoenix. Which,
yeah,
but we are not reviewing Dark Phoenix again.
No, because
I'm not watching that fucking movie again. I can't do it. No. I'm not that strong.
I mean, I
can sit through Origins.
I mean, like
I haven't seen the entirety of Origins.
Yeah, I was about to say.
So I can stomach that.
Because I don't need to see Origins. I saw that once in the theater, and it literally is like fucking stuck in here. It won't come out.
Dark Phoenix, on the other hand, no.
Oh no, I saw it.
Phoenix. No review. I refuse.
Dark Phoenix is also up there, but I mean that's fair because like we
went into that. We went into that. Plus we reviewed it.
We reviewed
New Mutants. We might do a
follow up on
a follow up.
I think I kind of went into that. Well, I don't know if I think I'd probably appreciate it a little bit more if I watched it again. Although I enjoyed that. I hate that.
I think I have the DVD of that. I think I can want it too.
Well, I feel bad for that because like that got movie bombed to hell for no fucking reason. I don't even think it was that bad. Thinking you and I were like the only reviewers that were like any sort of positive. It was the same
with Captain Marvel. We were one of the few it seemed like that were giving it positives.
But yeah. So anyway, continuing on with your impressions.
Yeah, and so like I said, when I was a kid, this was the one I had. And I had a DVD with like 4 episodes of Evolution on it. Mm-hmm. That was it. Because again,
it's Evolution, baby.
Don't even bring that video up. But anyway, I guess I don't know why I never rented these. I never remember seeing them on TV at all.
Yeah.
I'm sure I knew someone in grade school that had them.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Like I don't know.
Like when these
it was kind of wild, like
No.
how that went. Because you think I would have had them.
Yeah, because being someone who was a teenager when these were out, for one, I wasn't really interested in them because the only X-Men thing I grew up with was the '90s cartoon,
Which I also watched a shit ton when I was when I was young.
So when I like when I was a teenager, I was like, well, this is nothing like the X-Men I remember. I'm a pass. That was the same for the X-Men comic books too. Like Rogue wasn't cool. Like these characters were all characters I knew nothing about, and so I kind of slept on them because I'm like, unless Spider-Man shows up in these films, I don't give a shit. Well, fast forward a few years, like a half a decade, and I'm my freshman year of college, we somehow had an HBO in there for some reason, and my roommate would just pop HBO on, and so like it was a weekend day, and I'm just chilling in my dorm room, not really doing anything because I got homework done, and I didn't like friends weren't busy, and I'm flipping their channels, and all of a sudden I hear Homo Superior, the X gene, and I'm like, what is this? And I'm like, oh, it's the X-Men films. I watched them. I thought they were okay. Granted, this is also at the time where like Spider-Man 3 had come out, and it was in that nebulous time frame between.
Was this College Adam, where College Adam was an asshole to people?
Well, yes, and also
about taste.
Well, and also the fact that this was that nebulous time period where, like, before the MCU started, we're like, where are we gonna go? Because like, you have to remember, like, but before the MCU and Spider-Man 3, which I like, superhero movies like were not coming out, and they were just not very good. Like you had like
Rise of the Silver Surfer,
Ang Lee Hulk.
I don't care what anybody says, is trash.
And while I don't think this is that bad, you had Last Stand, you had Blade Trinity, you had all these.
God damn it, Trinity is terrible.
You had all these just stinkers. So like I'm watching these, and so like I remember even at that point,
Electro is coming out.
Even at that point, like I was like, because Last Stand literally had tainted these movies so bad. That was why like for a lot of people, First Class was like a breath of fresh air, regardless of what your opinions are on it. So I'm like, oh, I don't know if these are going to be very good. And so I sat down and I watched them, and I'm like, oh, yeah, these are actually kind of not bad. And I kind of just put them away, and I'd heard about all the X-Men stuff, but like, also in the comics at the time, like, the X-Men it was bad. Because you had like Schism, and you had Avengers versus X-Men, and it just, like, it was not a good time to be an X-Men fan at the time. Particularly because, like, I think Marvel was actually trying to sink the X-Men because they couldn't get the rights back, and this was around the time where Disney had actually managed to, like, consolidate all of Marvel underneath them except for Spider-Man and the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. And so, like, it was kind of a weird period. Like, I liked them, but I was like, I don't know if the X-Men can keep doing this. And, well, here we are today, sort of thing. And so, Colton tells me we're going to review them, so I sat down and watched them again. And honestly, I was, for the most part, pleasantly surprised. Except for Last Stand. Which, I will admit, I don't think it's that bad. But it's like, well, we'll get into it when we get into it, but it was kind of what I expected of this trilogy. And, like, how it ends. So, you want to get into talking about, like, the cast real quick?
Yeah, we won't dive too hugely into the plots because, again, we're doing 3 movies here, but
yeah.
I guess we'll talk about, let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I fucking love Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, I like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
I think he was the perfect cast, and I know some people are gonna be like, "Well, he's too tall."
Like,
if he could have shrank his ass, he would have done it.
Yeah,
like he is just like, to me, he's like the embodiment of Logan to me.
Yeah,
like
he really
looks the part. He acts the part. I mean, he's great with the action scenes. He's great with the not action scenes.
Yeah.
He just overall he works.
No, I actually will agree. Going through these, I get why like Wolverine got pushed so much.
Why they kept pushing him into everything?
Yeah, because
he's
like the best part of this franchise. Like, which says a lot about the X-Men, because I think even nowadays Wolverine was like the best part of this franchise. You know, it was kind of funny for like that, like what 5-year period where he was dead and we had like old man Logan and Laurie. You really could like feel something was missing from the X-Men when he was gone, but like it just really showed why they kept making like the main storyline of this up until like X3 Wolverine. He was the most interesting, and he like you said, he really gets the character, because like you have like the rough tumble like mercenary. You also have like the father figure that Wolverine has been to many characters over the years. Like he really runs the gamut of what like the Wolverine character, and I think that's what makes it work so well. Honestly, I think the only movie I really had any issues with and it's not even because of his acting, I just think it was because the way they wrote him was really Last Stand. And that was mostly just because, like, it became very much, like, well, his plot, well, okay, it's kind of weird, and I'll explain a little bit more when we kind of give our thoughts on the films overall at the end, but otherwise, I really liked him, and I'm glad he stuck through every single film, because it was really, really good, and I
can see why Disney wants to try to get him back.
Yeah.
Logan was such a great send-off for him in the character that I don't know if I feel like he probably wants to do it, but he's also like, I had such a great final.
Yeah.
Like, I had such a great Twilight of a movie.
I think if we were to get him to come back, they should just legitimately do X-23 as the Wolverine.
Same. You and I have been in agreement on that for a long time.
And just have him as the old man Logan, as like the mentor figure to Laurie. I think would be
Laura.
Or Laura. Sorry, I thought her name was Laurie. I don't know why I think
Laura.
it's Laura.
You're thinking of Silk Spectre, probably.
Oh, okay.
Similar. Laurie.
Unfair.
Which
I don't know why I would think of Silk Spectre.
Weird.
Silk Spectre, but okay.
It's Laura.
Laura. Okay. Female Logan.
Just X-23.
Okay. At least we're not bringing up like the fucking weird shit of clones like the Stepford fucking Cuckoos. But
would show up in The Gifted.
Whatever fucking reason. But anyway, yeah, I think he was definitely like definitely one of the, like this, like there's a reason why
he was
like
a lot of the glue.
Yeah, there's a reason why like his career took off after these movies. Even though his career is already pretty good, but like this cemented him as like he can do like those, you know, those romantic comedies and stuff, but like he could be a fucking action star too.
Yeah, he could be a complete badass.
Like he was. Yeah.
Listen, when he pops the claws and goes ape shit in these movies, it looks fucking good.
It's just a shame he can't sing for shit if you ever watched Les Mis. Woof. It's fucking awful.
But I would probably say it's a toss-up who is my favorite in these films between Hugh Jackman as Wolverine and Famke Janssen as Jean.
I probably would still.
My biggest complaint with Jean in these films is they don't do enough with her.
Yeah, I was about to say.
They don't know what to do with her.
I see what you mean, because I will admit her character is really good here, but they barely do anything with her in the first two films. It's frustrating too, because like Jean and Storm are technically like two of the most popular female characters in the Marvel universe, and they do nothing with them here. What we did get with Jean, I did like. For me though, I think if I were to say the character that would be next really well written, for me it would probably have to be Patrick Stewart as Professor Xavier. Because holy shit,
perfect casting.
No, he is
fucking
perfect.
phenomenal.
No, he is.
He always has been.
Yeah, no, he was great. Like, I mean, granted, he looks like Professor Xavier from the comics, but like he comes off as like that warm character that Professor Xavier was, you know, before they fucked him up all the time later on. Like, you know, where like he basically made the X-Men be his private army and like all this other bullshit they did with him.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk about that.
No, like, I'm happy that I think Hickman's run on X-Men might actually kind of fix him a little bit. But regardless, I like it really works here, and I actually kind of like that they, even though like they do show that Professor Xavier had to do some pretty sketchy stuff, like what he did to like Jean to like store the Phoenix away from her. But otherwise, I really loved him. He was solidly well done as a performer. And then the other co-star with him that's really good.
Ian McKellen is Magneto. My God,
shit.
I'd forgotten how great he was.
No, yeah, I did too. But man, he just...
Whenever it's kind of the same. Like, there's there's certain actors in a film where when you'll watch it and they'll be in a scene, they command the fucking scene.
Oh my god.
He is one of those. He's in it and he commands the attention of the screen. Like in X2 when he busts out of the cell.
Oh my god, that scene where he busts out of the cell.
He's phenomenal in that because like
you have too much iron in your blood. Oh my god.
Sit down. No. He says no, and it's like
no. To be fair, in X2 he's
fucking fantastic in X2.
He's like, which granted X2 is probably my favorite of the three of these that I watched. Like he just works so well. Like granted, he
doesn't phone it in.
Yeah, he doesn't phone it in. My only real complaint with Magneto is just the way he's written sometimes. Like when he's willing to like sacrifice Rogue, or like the scene in X3 where he's like
only the pawns go first.
I'm like, I don't think Magneto really does it. But to be fair, the Magneto I know is much less villain. Like because I feel like they're going for more like classic Magneto in these films. But like modern Magneto has had so much character development. I'm like, I don't think Magneto would really
modern
sacrifice
Magneto wouldn't do that.
Like his own kind.
Back in the 60s, yeah.
Back in the 60s, yeah. But like modern day Magneto, he's like would not do that. But that and I fucking hated that scene in X3 after Mystique gets demutated and he just fucking abandons her. I'm like,
bro, really?
Such a shame. She was so much prettier before. I'm like,
bruh,
fuck you. All right.
Yeah, that.
Oh my god. But writing aside, that was like the perfect writing for him.
Which is why when they did Days, I'm so glad they got all the people to come back. Like they got him and Patrick Stewart to come back, honestly, among others.
Honestly, I think I like this role for Ian more than Gandalf in Lord of the Rings because he's just.
I do too because I think Lord of the Rings fucking sucks.
I mean, fair, but
you can quote me on that. I do not like Lord of the Rings.
There's only one return,
and it's of the fucking Jedi, not of the King, the Jedi.
Oh, I'm gonna get so much flack for the friends of mine that actually like Lord of the Rings.
I don't give a shit. I've told my friends I think Lord of the Rings is ass.
I'm not really. For me, it's just I'm not really a big fantasy guy. I'm a comic book dude, but yeah, I liked him. I liked them. I loved Alan Tudyk as Nightcrawler. It's a shame that he's only in one fucking film.
I remember you texting me, like, I forgot how much I like Nightcrawler in this.
Well, because, like, they get him so right. Like, they get down his, like, him being religious. They get down, like, his
mannerisms.
His mannerisms and how, like, gentle of a soul he is, despite the fact he'll cut a bitch if he wants to. Like, he was so perfect. And even, like, when he catches Rogue, he's like, Auf Wiedersehen, mein Liebchen. And I'm like, God, I'm so right. And then he doesn't show up for Last Stand. And I'm like, why?
You want to know why? They actually fixed that later on.
Oh, they did?
That X-Men game, X-Men the official game, actually explains where he is during the whole thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like I can't remember what it is. He's off fighting something during that movie. That's why he's not around.
That just made me so mad because I'm sure in reality they couldn't get Alan Tudyk back. And I'm like, no, he was so perfect. Him and Colossus are in these films, and Colossus does like jack shit. Both of which are like my favorite X-Men, and they're not in the fucking films whatsoever. And it breaks my fucking heart.
Then we got Anna Paquin as Rogue, which I really like.
She's very good.
I think this was one of her very, very early. I think this was one of her breakout roles. I want to say was doing this because she's real young in this.
Yeah, she's really great.
Most people not anymore. You probably know her from True Blood if you don't know who we're talking about. But this is really where I remember seeing her.
Yeah,
first was in these.
And I remember seeing Anna Paquin topless a lot in True Blood when I watched it on HBO. But
won't get us canceled one of these days.
It was a TV show. I watched a TV show.
Can't believe you.
Oh, fuck off.
Anyway, she does a great job in these films.
It's just a shame that she's stuck.
They don't do jack shit with her in 3 at all.
Yeah. Hey, wouldn't it be great if we did like this abortion like homage, and then we barely see her throughout the entire fucking film, despite the fact that she was like a subplot in the other 2 films. Nah, you don't want to see her.
That was the only thing that was good about that in X3 was we didn't have that stupid fucking love triangle
between
shit,
her,
which was
Pyro,
so
and Iceman.
fucking annoying. It's one of those cases where it's an early 2000s movie and we have a love triangle going on, which is fucking annoying and unnecessary.
Especially because it really ruins Bobby's character in the 3rd film when he clearly is like trying to take Kitty over Rogue because Rogue just keeps pushing him away, and I'm like, And then she depowers herself, and I get why they did it, because literally they didn't know what else to do with her. At the same time, knowing what I know now, where Rogue can actually control her powers and got married to Gambit, I'm like, why couldn't we have just had her and Gambit?
Because they hadn't done that at this point. They hadn't even done Gambit up to this point.
No, I know. Like, that's what going into this movie, I'm just so frustrated, because I'm like, you have all the other characters from the fucking cartoon, but you didn't do Nightcrawler, you didn't do Gambit, you barely did Colossus.
To be fair, a lot of that was because they're like, we have to like trim this down because it's too fucking big.
No,
for a
I
movie.
get that, I do. It's just,
I mean, because you think about it, we had the overarching Wolverine plot through all three. You had Jean's plot throughout all three. Cyclops, which fucking just ends when he dies in 3.
No, I know.
Rogues, which ends in 3. Like, they are, as well as, the interplay between Magneto and Xavier. Like, there was so much stuff already going on. They probably were like, we can't fit everything in.
It's also why, again, Bobby and Colossus get, like, no fucking character development in these movies. Or, in Bobby's case, hey, Bobby's brother hates him for being a mutant, so he sicks the cops on them. And then Pyro murders them. Holy shit, that scene was so fucking graphic. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? And I know Wolverine's unconscious, but, like, Rogue literally just lets him just murder 6 or 7 people before she suddenly gets the idea, oh yeah, I should, like, use my powers to knock him out.
In the interest of fairness, shock is a thing.
I mean, fair, but, like she just sits there, like...
Shock.
I mean, Shock, yeah, but she's also being trained to be a fucking superhero by Professor Xavier.
Because that always works.
I mean, fair. But anyway, yeah, I don't care for Bobby and Pyro at all in these films.
I don't either. It's just because there's not really anything to the characters, in my opinion. They just don't do a whole lot with them.
No, they really don't. I like the actress that plays Mystique in this. Mystique's really well done.
Which is... I'm going to see if they mention her on the back one of these. I knew her name at one point, and I feel bad I can't remember it. I'm terrible at fucking
My only
names.
complaint with Mystique is the fact that she has to be naked these entire films.
Which I remember you and I talking about. They couldn't give her, like, the classic white dress with, like, the skull belt, which would have looked fucking amazing.
But, like, in that case, just do, like, one of the modern film, like, costumes where she's just wearing a tank top and, like, tight pants. Like... Well, like, was it because you were afraid, like, it would make no sense why her clothes change? I never cared about that in the comic books either.
I'm gonna butcher this name. Rebecca Romijn?
I think that's Rebecca Romijn?
Romijn, also known as Rebecca O'Connell, is who plays Mystique.
Yeah, she's really good. I liked her as Mystique.
She was also Lois Lane in The Death of Superman and all the other DC movies up to Apocalypse War.
Oh, cool. So she died a villain and lived long enough to be the hero.
I like her in these films. She's a good villain.
Yeah.
Which
they really
usually is.
Yeah, they really get down her femme fatale, and the way she fights. I actually love how they got her really acrobatic and stuff, which is how Mystique should be. Yeah, she was really well done. I liked her. She was very solid. Only real complaint is we get her, Rogue, and Nightcrawler in a scene together. And she doesn't even be like, you look like them kids I had.
To be fair, even in the comics, Mystique is just... Because to be fair, that happens in Days, the comic.
I know it does.
And there's nothing like that happens. Mystique just flat out is like, I ain't bringing this up.
I mean, fair. It just would have been nice. I know, like you said, they were... But, like, it just... Again, as someone who watched the cartoon, I was like, oh, I guess we're just gonna not bring that one up. And then like they don't bring it up again, but yet they have like both Mystique and Nightcrawler's dad as Hazel in First Class. Like, okay. Yeah, I liked her. I guess we can get into character. I like Kelsey Grammer as Beast. He was a surprisingly well done Beast.
Yeah. The design's really, really good.
Yeah, the design's really, really good. He doesn't look like a fucking Catman. Granted, I wish he looked like the Beast from the comics, but I know that's kind of a hard thing to get, because, no, I thought that was really well done. What little we got of Warren Angel was kind of nice, despite the fact he really doesn't do much. Kitty's actress was okay.
Elliot Page now, if I can correct that.
Yeah. Shame Kitty really only gets to have one movie dedicated to giving her character development.
Besides being mentioned in one,
Yeah.
showing up for like 2 seconds in one, showing up, being mentioned in two.
Well, I think she actually partakes a little bit in the fight at the mansion when they're all trying to escape. But I think after that she doesn't.
Oh yeah, she does, because she runs through the walls. I forgot.
Also,
but again, like blinking, it's gone.
I think the mutant girl that screams is supposed to be Siren, maybe. But I don't know. That might just be a random girl with a sonic scream power. So, forgive me if that's not Siren. That's the only female X-Men character I know that has like that kind of power. So, that's kind of it for me for characters I really liked. Getting into characters that like
don't work.
All right, let's start with Cyclops first because I have like a whole fucking diatribe for the other character. You know what's coming.
Okay. I actually don't think Cyclops is terrible in these films.
I don't think he's like
a lot of it is again. I don't think they knew what to do with him.
Yeah, like it's more like he barely does anything in X1, so when he starts leading the rest of the X-Men, I'm like, why is he the leader? Like, I know why he's the leader because I've read the comic books, but like, movie wise, they don't really give you a lot to go on why he's the one in charge. Like, I mean, my God, Storm had more dialogue in the first film, and I didn't understand why she wasn't the leader of the X-Men for most of these films. It's because there's more with her in these films. But, like I said, I don't think there's anything wrong with the actor's portrayal. It's just, he has so little to do.
He wants to come back, too.
I wouldn't mind him coming back, because, like, he deserves to, like, actually fucking act. But, like, you know, and then we get and then come X2, like, he's just depressed and angry, and then X3, he fucking dies. Just, we don't even see his death, he just dies. And I think we kind of see it in, like, a flashback, but, like, you don't see everything, but then he's just fucking dead. So, thanks. But, you know, I think a lot of that just comes down to they didn't want to have two leading male roles. So they really gave Logan a push, but didn't give Scott enough push. And, like, it's such a shame because, like, one of the best things about Wolverine and Cyclops is, like,
that interplay.
Like, that despite, you know, the two can't stand each other sometimes, they're still best friends. They just want to bang the same woman and they can't figure out that they should just have a three-way. But, well, now they are.
Well, to be fair, in the comics, Jean has bounced back and forth so many times.
Oh my God, yeah. It's true. To the point where I'm just like, why don't you just pick somebody else? Just let them be happy. But, anyway. The other character that I don't think really fucking works in these movies is Storm. Who is, again, one of my favorite characters from the cartoon, and one of my favorite characters of the X-Men in general, because she's literally had, like, the least shitty things done to her or done to somebody else, bar her relationship with Black Panther, but that's neither here nor there, because, my God, I don't know if Halle Berry is phoning it in, or if they just wrote her that bad, but wow, she sucks in these films. And it's not just her acting. She is not the storm goddess that she is in the comics. Like, oh my God. Like, it's so bad. Like, from the fact that, like Cyclops has to blast open a wall so she can, like, create weather, despite the fact that there's atmosphere all over. She can literally create storms in houses and such.
I think a lot of that was they probably nerfed her just because they were like, we don't want too many fucking OP characters all here at once, because then it's going to make it a little hard to believe that there's...
I mean, I guess it's fair, but it's just... It's really hard to swallow, especially because every movie, it gets worse and worse with her. Until eventually the most cool thing she does with her powers is make ice cubes for people's drinks. But like power bullshit aside, the other is every time she opens her mouth, she just like, you should have just kept your mouth shut. Of course, we all know the infamous line, you know what happens to a toad in a thunderstorm? The same thing as everything else.
Again, Brian.
Who got paid to write that?
Bryan Singer, which his Batman Begins script is shit too.
Yeah, no, his show is right here. Like, the dialogue is so bad in places. Like, and the other infamous scene that I hate bringing up because I know you don't like me bringing it up, but the part where Rogue finds out there's a cure, and Storm goes, "There's no cure. You know why? Because there's nothing wrong with us." And I'm like, well, there's nothing wrong with you, Storm, because you won the superpower lottery. Rogue literally can't touch people or they die. Like, and I know
because we've had this argument. I'm not gonna rehash it here.
I know, but just for the sake of the people watching at home, I know that's an allegory for race, for LGBTQ, but the X-Men are also referenced to disabilities as well. And I'm sorry, but if my mutant power makes it so I can't touch people, or my jaw becomes a sentient energy that like pulses and shit, or I turn into like a fish man, if I had a cure that made it so that my mutant power, which while is amazing, is also crippling and debilitating, I feel like that should be my choice, which I think they also what they're going for. However, I would like it if the X-Men weren't ableist as fuck. That's really my biggest complaint with that line, how ableist it is. Because, like, you have, like, I don't know, it's like that one comic where Cyclops is like, someone made fun of my glasses, and then it shows, like, all the X-Men that, like literally are mutated, like, hideous abominations just sitting there, like... But, my God, Storm just... it's so frustrating, just... Regardless of, like, the power thing, she's just not done very well.
The issues with Storm and Jean, and me and our friend Riley talked about this today, was that it really is a product of the time in which they came out, which was they weren't doing a lot of the strong female characters in these type of films.
No, I get that. Which
is obviously not an excuse whatsoever. And as a Jean fan, like I said, it pisses me off a lot.
Yeah,
at the same time, I'm also like, that was the era. It sucks shit.
I do.
It sucks shit a lot. That was the era, though.
It's just such a shame that when they start making X-Men in the next era, they still fucking don't do Storm right.
Yeah.
That's really my biggest fucking complaint. My other really big problem is, aside from fucking Magneto, every villain in this film is so fucking on the nose. And I get with Senator Kelly. Because Senator Kelly is supposed to be like, you know, a parody of like...
He's Mike Pence.
Yeah, he's Mike Pence. Whatever politician you have a problem with, he's that politician. And I don't mind it for Senator Kelly, because that's the point of Senator Kelly. But then you get like Trask and whoever the fucking... Stryker, thank you. I couldn't think of what his name was. The guy who was in charge of Weapon X. Oh my God. They are so one-dimensional. It hurts. Like, the writing on them is so bad. I mean, granted, Warren's dad as the guy who makes the cure isn't as bad, because, like, I get why. Like, he opens the door and sees that, like, Warren is literally ripping his own skin off to try and keep the wings from growing in. I get why he thinks that, like, being a mutant is like a cure, is like a curse, because, like, poor Warren doesn't want to be Angel. But then, like, that movie's written really weird, so that literally Warren has like a 180-degree change just because they're gonna like strap him to a table and inject him with the cure, and I'm like, okay. But then again, I think that's a lot of the problems with the writing in X3, but But like, would you agree that like most of the villains in this, aside from like the Brotherhood, are
Yeah,
not very
I can
well?
agree. I mean, we both were really in agreement. The Lady Deathstrike stuff in 2 is so fucking bad because there's nothing there.
Like I didn't even know who she was until literally she popped the nails. That was literally how badly written that was. Because I was like, who is this weird mutant that like cracks her knuckles? And then she did the nail, and I'm like, oh my fucking god, that's Lady Deathstrike, isn't it? It's also the beginning of them using the name Yuriko, like, for any Asian mutant that they don't have a name for. Because you have Lady Deathstrike here as Yuriko. You have the Yuriko in the Wolverine, which, granted, that was her actual name in the book. And then you have Negasonic Teenage Warhead's girlfriend Yuriko in Deadpool. I'm sure there might be a couple more, but those are the ones I know off the top of my head. And I'm like, who is this character? Because, like, they use the name, like, all the time. Could it be any more common? But no, Lady Deathstrike was really bad. They had Sabretooth for one film.
And then he shows up in 3 again, and you're like, what?
Wait, he showed up in 3?
He's in 3, I'm pretty sure.
I don't remember seeing him in 3.
I'm pretty sure he's in the background somewhere.
Oh, okay. That might be why I didn't know he was back there. But, like, again, Sabretooth, like, him and Wolverine have, like, this whole thing. You know, they've known each other for, like a century, and you know he gets beat in X1, and you barely see him in X. He doesn't show up in X2, barely show him in 3, and then X-Men Origins happened, which woof, they ruined Sabretooth in that movie, but it's just a shame because if they cut, I don't understand why they bothered cutting Sabretooth, since Sabretooth is like, but then again, it might have been because of how fucking ridiculous every time he opened his mouth, they did that really obvious.
Okay, I'm actually wrong. He's not in 3. I thought he was. That's on me.
Like that sound of that roar that he just does, which I'm like, did Sabretooth roars? I don't think Sabretooth roars, but it was so. Yeah, and then they make him like an idiot throughout most of X1 because, well, he's the big muscly henchman, so he's gotta be dumb, herp-de-derp. And like I'm like, but you already have Toad, who's lame. Make him the idiot. Like, oh, yeah. But and then some of the other evil mutants, like they're just there for like the movie. Like Spike and whatever that other mutant was that could like track mutants. I couldn't remember what her name was, so I apologize. Or like some of the other Brotherhood characters that come up. Like I think Marrow is the guy that like hunts Wolverine in the woods. Although admittedly that scene was really cool. Like where he like Wolverine's like using like guerrilla tactics to fight the guy. But yeah, like then like I'm sorry, like I know like like the allegory stuff is always on the nose with the X-Men, but my god. Some of the scenes are just like the scene with Bobby's mom.
Don't, because fuck, I hate that line. Don't even repeat it.
Yeah, oh my god, that line is
watching that pissed me off.
And I get it, but like you're trying to be a little bit more grounded in reality, and it just comes off as like I'm watching a comic book movie instead of being a movie about comic book characters. And which again, I know but like, man. I don't know. What are your feelings on like the writing?
The writing is very up and down.
Yeah, that would be what my feeling is on that.
Like to me, growing up with these being around, you know, the Daredevil movie, the Punisher movie, the Fantastic Four movie,
the Spider-Man films,
well, I'm getting there.
Yeah.
With those, it always when I was younger reminded me these are so. They're not up to the same quality as the Spider-Man movies.
That's very true. Like, even Blade was up to a better standard than a lot of these films.
So, I guess let's dive into... We'll just kind of roughly talk about the plots of each movie,
yeah,
because we're already at 44 minutes.
And again,
these movies have been out so long, like, if you really want a detailed plot breakdown, there's a million other people that do it.
And like, a lot of the character stuff is so few and far between. That was why it's hard for us to talk about all the characters, because, like, it's just... It's gonna be hard because a lot of them, they're just there for the plot. Okay, so yeah, let's get into X-Men. This is probably my second favorite of these three, the first film. Mostly because I think it's probably the most down to earth of like the story elements. You know, basically like Senator Kelly's trying to like make like a like, I guess, put mutants in like a concentration camp.
They're doing the Registration Act, which
Yeah.
does pop up a lot in X-Men related media. It does come up time and time
as
again.
it should, because it's kind of an important.
It's an allegory for you know, the Holocaust.
Which this movie opens on the Holocaust.
Which I'd forgotten it did.
Yeah, I forgot it did that
in, and I'm
too.
watching. I'm like, where the fuck am I? And then like I saw like Poland.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
like, oh fuck, we're at Auschwitz.
Yeah,
Oh
which-
Jesus. I
that
forgot.
was a really good way to open this and to
That
give
was a
you.
powerful opening.
Yeah, it works really well to give you an idea of why Magneto is the way he is. And I constantly love where they keep showing like where the Nazis marked him, like when like he's talking with the Brotherhood at the end of Last Stand. They're like, "Don't you want to get a tattoo to show the Brotherhood? I will never let the humans put more ink on me again." And he shows like his, and I'm like, man, they really got like Magneto,
Yeah.
like, and it like just from that opening alone, it was like,
I get why he's
yeah,
the way
no.
he is.
and it's so well done. It reminds me of, again, like going back to like the Burton Batman films. Like they didn't tell, they show you why Magneto is the way he is, and it works really well. And you know, when
So we have Kelly who's trying to push through the Registration Act. He gets kidnapped by the Brotherhood.
Yeah.
And Magneto's plan is he has this machine that basically will turn normal humans into mutants.
yeah, it's powered by like
words,
his magnetic.
In his words, God works too slowly.
God works too slowly, my child. And basically, he makes a machine that allows his magnetic powers to, like, I guess, create like radiation.
It's weird pseudoscience that we're not even going to try
basically
to
it's a
explain.
radiation that will trigger the X gene even in like normal like humans.
The book I brought might have it actually.
Yeah.
Which I'm actually going to look it up.
The other plot is that Rogue has run away from home because, you know, her first kiss, she puts her boyfriend in a coma.
This is that book that I used to get all the time. I still have
And
it.
she runs away from home and she's trying to find somewhere where she belongs. And she runs into Wolverine, who's just
Cage fighting.
Yeah, just cage fighting.
Drifting.
That scene was so fucking hilarious that because like every time he punched someone, you hear like a metal clunk. I wish that they had kept that clunk every time Wolverine punched somebody, because it would have been fucking hilarious to hear him just clunk, 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 clunk. It would have been so funny. But, yeah. So basically, that's the overall.
Okay, here it is. Magneto's plot. And this is from the Ultimate Guide to the X-Men, updated edition, 2003, written by Peter Sanderson, who is a comic book historian.
Yeah, you know, I think he also did some editing for Marvel too.
Yeah. According to the book, the plot is, having experienced persecution under the Nazis, Magneto is determined that mutants will not become the next victims of human oppression. The Brotherhood abducts Senator Kelly and brings him back to their hidden lair. Officials from around the world will soon attend a summit meeting in New York City. Magneto plans to transform them into mutants, forcing them to help the mutant cause. Magneto's magnetic powers energize the device that transforms Senator Kelly into a mutant, but the effort severely weakens him if he is the transformer. Okay, so it doesn't even explain how the fuck it works in this, which is hilarious.
Like, I
because
think
they knew it was so pseudoscience-y,
like,
and it wasn't gonna fucking make any sense.
I just assume what it does is it creates radiation via magnetic waves, much like the Aurora Borealis or like and basically that
science machine does evil things.
Yeah.
There you go.
Like if I'm just trying to like kind of force science, so apologies if someone else tells me I'm wrong.
You're gonna tell me I'm wrong, bro?
Yeah, but and to be fair, like I think this is probably one of the I like this film just because like it's very much an X-Men story. You know, Magneto has some plot, and the X-Men have to try and stop him. And then of course we have the stuff with Wolverine, which did you love the clunking that happens during the
I've forgotten that was
Wouldn't it
in
have been amazing if, like, the entire movie he just punches people and makes that little clunk noise? You would never been able to take it seriously. But I think it works really well. You know, it's a great intro. Like, you know, we get all these characters. They introduce us to who they are. We get the love triangle between Scott, Logan, and Jean. You know, you get like the whole
you get most of the shit you want in an X-Men movie.
Exactly. And I think it's really well done. I think the CGI has not dated very well.
Listen, my biggest thing, and you're gonna back me up on this. I know you will. The costumes in this film suck complete ass.
No,
Oh my god! I remember thinking as a kid, why didn't they just do the comic costumes?
Yeah, because like, well, that would have looked ridiculous.
Spider-Man showed it can work.
I was about to say, we live in a world where we do this. We do Spider-Man. Like, I'm sorry, I love Spider-Man, but that costume is fucking ridiculous.
If Raimi shows it can work, there's no excuse. It could have worked. And it only gets worse as these films go on, as you'll see, because they keep teasing it that we're gonna do the costumes, and they never do them.
Like, I think the closest we ever got to actual costumes was First Class, where they have like almost like the comic book.
The ending of Apocalypse, because they show everybody in the costumes.
Oh yeah, they do. Yeah. And
Which, God, was the most Jean Grey looking outfit that Sophie Turner ever had.
And they do have Psylocke kind of in her costume, I guess. But like, and to be fair, I get kind of why they did that, because like, I think Josh Whedon's run on X-Men, or Grant Morrison's. No, it's Grant Morrison's. Grant Morrison's run on X-Men.
Did that run?
Because every once in a while they do like one single outfit, but like it almost never lasts because nobody likes that. Like, it's a comic book. I don't care if they look goofy. Like I always hate that fucking line where Scott's like, "What'd you expect? Yellow spandex?" I'm like,
man, fuck you.
I don't really want to hear you, Scott, when you have to wear the fucking like Geordie visor. Captain,
stop. I don't need that image in my head now. But anyway,
take a look.
So Kelly dies after, because it's revealed that the transformation into a mutant
is not stable.
It's not stable, and it makes you bust down in the water.
Which that effect was
surprisingly
brutal.
good.
Yeah,
it was surprisingly
like,
good.
Fuck. I was like,
yeah.
I remember when I watched that when I was watching this like before. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, and so Magneto abducts Rogue with the intention of making her absorb his powers and then power the machine to therefore transform the people into mutants.
Which I actually really like.
The X-Men stop it. That's the movie.
Yeah, which I actually really like that they first thing that he's after Wolverine, because Sabretooth wanted
after you.
Well, because Sabretooth had like his dog tags from whatever fucking war. Because I'm sure it's supposed to be World War II, but let's be honest, those dog tags could be from fucking Vietnam for all we know.
And to be fair, as a military guy, I don't recognize even Canada's dog tags. I'm pretty sure don't look like that.
Well, to be fair, Logan and Sabretooth were technically also in like some of the American,
but the American dog tags also have never looked like that.
Like I said, I'm just saying, like, those dog tags could be from any war that they were not a part of Canada.
The easiest way to remember it is the OG dog tags were a circle.
Okay.
Then they transformed into the ones that look like now.
Okay.
Like, that's the easiest way to remember them.
Yeah. Like I said, that wasn't me, like, just because I know, like, in Origins they say they fought in the Civil War for some fucking reason. I'm like, you're Canadian. What the fuck do you care about the American Civil War? But yeah, like I said, I like that little twist, because at first you're like, what does he need Wolverine for? And then you realize when he gets the machine out, like, oh, he's after Rogue.
Yeah.
And you get some really cool stuff. Like I like the part where like he puts Professor X in a coma by like messing with Cerebro. I like Jean having to use Cerebro despite the fact that it could kill her, but she's like, we don't have a choice. I like the fact we get to see the Blackbird. Like, I was wondering if they were going to do the Blackbird a lot when these movies first happened. I'm like, oh, hey, the Blackbird. Because I love that thing. That thing is an awesome ship. I love that thing. Like, I'm always happy to see the Blackbird when it shows up.
There's a lot of flight sims, I'm pretty sure, where you can get that.
Yeah, no. I actually wouldn't... that's why I really kind of kicked myself. I should have got the Transformers one, because they... Hasbro just released a X-Men special Transformer where it's the Blackbird and it transforms into like a Wolverine-like sort of thing, but he has like all the different powers of the other X-Men. I should have got that. I'm kicking myself I didn't. I hope they do like a Batmobile as an aside.
Yeah. And so the second movie, basically we pick up right where it left off. We start getting more of Logan's backstory in this. Mm-hmm. Like, it opens up with the movie. Yeah. I also like that they do the opposite of what they did with the first movie with the intro monologue. They had Jean do it. Mm-hmm. Obvious reasons later on.
Yeah.
So we have Logan trying to uncover more about his past, which ties in later on in the movie. He comes back and while all this is going on, there's this attempt on the president's life by Nightcrawler, which they later explain.
Yeah,
that
like Stryker has like this chemical that he injects into the back of their neck, and it makes them like susceptible to like, I want to say his son's psychic abilities, so that they will do like,
yeah,
which I love because then when like Jean and Storm go to get Nightcrawler, he's like in the church like praying because he's like, I don't know what happened to me, Father. I was possessed by the devil, which is ironic given that Nightcrawler looks like a demon. But also love that they keep having a running gag where like Kurt has to go into like his whole backstory. He always goes, but at the circus they called me Nightcrawler. I love how you have to keep doing that single time.
He's a teleport.
That was great. I also really liked. I thought they were kind of trying to hint that like Nightcrawler and Storm are gonna have a relationship, which goes nowhere because he don't show up for Last Stand.
But
yes, I am salty about that.
So while all this is going on, this character named Stryker has this plan where he's like, I have information from Magneto that the Xavier Institute is actually a training camp for mutants. They have footage of the Blackbird.
Yeah.
So they organize a strike to go in and like kidnap some of them, which on paper looks like on the up and up paramilitary op.
Yeah.
It really fucking ain't, because he's just there to figure out a way to get into Cerebro, rebuild it, and then use it to kill all the mutants in the world.
Because Stryker's like whole thing is like,
my son is a mutant and I don't like that.
Well, because he tried to get Professor Xavier to cure him, but Professor Xavier's like, I'm not going to cure him. That's not what I'm about. I was trying to help your son. Unfortunately, his son Jason suffers from like, I guess his psychic powers were so strong it fractured his mind. I think it's also kind of supposed to be like a hint at what's going to happen to Jean later. But those scenes are really fucked up. Where like Jason probes into Professor Xavier's mind.
The one where he's walking, and I'm like, oh my god, dude, really?
Or that part where like
again, could it be any more on the nose?
Well, and like it gets to the point where like he makes it so that Professor Xavier thinks he's in the institute, and he's trying to help this little girl find like everyone else. And so they rebuild Cerebro, and they make him think that he's like trying to find everyone. But really what's happening is he's using his powers to the point where he could kill everybody. And it's really messed up. While this is going on,
Magneto is still in his plastic prison.
Yeah, and Mystique, who in the last movie started pretending to be Senator Kelly to find... Which, at the end of the first film, don't the X-Men recognize that that's Mystique? Like, couldn't they have, like...
That's a plot hole, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's one of those, I'm like... So they just let Mystique just bum around. I mean, granted, she was able to help with mutant relations a little bit, so I guess maybe they're like, well, I guess we'll just have to see what happens there. But basically, she uses her powers to be awesome and sneak in and like figure out where Magneto's being held. And the way she gets Magneto out of prison is fucking awesome. So she drugs a guard and injects metal or more iron into his body, so that Magneto can rip the iron out of his blood and use it to escape. And it is like one of the best action scenes in the whole...
Yeah, it really is. It just shows you that even with like the tiniest bit of metal, he's fucking dangerous.
Yeah, like that's why his whole like prison has to be plastic. Well, like when Professor X comes to talk to him, he has to be in a plastic wheelchair. Like, that is how dangerous Magneto is, and it was satisfying.
Yeah, so they escape. Meanwhile, the guards have taken Xavier captive. They've taken Scott captive. They've grabbed a couple captives from the mansion. Most of them escape.
Yeah, because Wolverine, which is another awesome scene where Wolverine is just killing people.
Oh my god, I love the part where like he's like crouched down. He hits the dude in the fucking foot. Like, I'm like, this dude's like having Vietnam style.
My favorite part is when he freaks out. He's like, "Come on, shoot me!" Because like Wolverine will just tank it.
It's like, come on, fucking come at me.
Oh, and none of that. He gets like tranked at one point, so he has to keep moving so that like the regenerative factor will like get the drug out of his system. Oh, it's so good. And then like he runs into Stryker, and Stryker recognizes him because he's the one was in charge of Weapon X back in the day.
Which the whole subplot has been Logan's looking for some fucking answers.
Yeah, and so. And we get to finally see Bobby do something cool where he makes the fucking ice wall so him, Pyro, Rogue, and Wolverine can escape. Which again leads to Wolverine stealing yet another one of Cyclops' vehicles.
It has one of the most dated gags in it is that they kick on the radio and there's some fucking NSYNC playing. I'm like, oh,
no,
oh, bro, that's dated. Oh, fuck me, that is dated.
And so basically, Wolverine's whole plan is we're gonna meet up with Jean and Storm, and they're in, I think, Baltimore,
Boston.
It was some city with a B.
Boston.
Thank you, Boston. You know, we're gonna go see a Red Sox game, Boston, and whatever.
I hate the fucking Red Sox.
I'm just making a reference to Boston, all right?
You know, I hate baseball. Why the fuck?
I don't like baseball either. I'm just making a joke. Will you just fucking laugh?
I hate the Yankees.
Will you just fucking go along with the gag? I'm doing these fucking X-Men movies for you. Just fucking let me have a little fun.
Jesus Christ, I'm sorry.
What happened to us?
I don't know. Anyway, so they show up. Bobby's parents and his brother kind of are assholes.
Kind of assholes. Like,
what do you teach, Professor Logan? Art. Art.
The art of killing. Oh my god.
The art of killing, obviously.
No, he teaches the art of war. Obviously, Sun Tzu's the art of war.
The art of war.
Because he studied it.
Art.
You know, that and Wolverine's the original weeb, so he shows them anime and manga. You know, because he bangs.
Fuck you. No. So anyway, Jean and Storm show up, pick them up. They're all trying to get back to the mansion when, lo and behold, they get attacked by some F-15s.
Yeah, and we get to see like the only cool thing Storm does with her powers, which is make tornadoes so that they can escape.
When we start to see that Jean, which they hinted at in the movie, they start to show that Jean's powers are definitely out of whack since the end of the first movie.
Yeah.
Because she manages to get rid of one of the rockets and can't get the other one in time before it blows the entire back half of the Blackbird off.
Yeah, which they somehow fixed, which I'm like, there's no back.
Magneto fixed it.
Yeah, I'm assuming Magneto just welded together, but like at the same time, I'm like,
you learn to fly.
Like, oh my god! And Magneto catches the jet, and he's just like, when did you learn to fly?
Magneto is such a smart ass in this movie. I love it.
He is, but at the same time, it's like there's some really weird moments, like where him and Mystique are like being like little children whispering to each other.
What you do with your hair. Fucking Rogue's be like, I'm about to fucking murder him.
Yeah, no, or like
I'm about to murder an old man in front of everybody.
Which also leads into the subplot that gets brought up more in X3, where Pyro ends up joining the Brotherhood, which was as it was because Pyro was originally an evil mutant. I think nowadays he's a good guy though.
I think so.
Because like, well, I mean, granted, the Brotherhood. The Brotherhood's no longer called
such a fucking revolving door.
Yeah, well then, like, the Brotherhood isn't called the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, because that's not really what they're about. They're just called the Brotherhood. But, if Stan had his way, it would have been the Brotherhood of Merry Mutants.
Oh my god, fuck you. Stop. But anyway, they come up with this plan to rescue Professor X and the kidnapped children along with Scott. They bust into the former Weapon X facility, which is now underground.
We're not going to talk about the part where Mystique randomly decides to become Jean.
No,
she's
I'm not talking about that. Move on. No time. So they bust in. Lo and behold, to everybody's shock, Magneto's like, I got my own plan, motherfucker. Oh, yeah.
So they managed to, like, I forget what happens, because,
they managed to get into the room where Cerebro is.
Oh, yeah. Because Magneto puts his helmet on.
And
it protects him from Professor Xavier. You can't get into this mind. And then Magneto, being Magneto, is just like, all right, instead of mutants.
Yeah, he uses Mystique to transform into Stryker and tell the Sun, kill all the humans, change a plan.
Like, God, you couldn't have just had Magneto be a good guy for like a minute. But I mean, fair.
Well, they did that in Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
And then he decides, bitch, I'm killing Jean.
Look how that turned out, All right, fair. And so now it's a race against the clock for Jean to be able to free him, while Wolverine decides, no, I ain't about that. I'm going to go murder Stryker.
Yeah, then we get the basically Storm and Nightcrawler get in there. They They managed to free Xavier by Storm using her powers, which is probably the coolest use of them in this movie, along with the tornadoes.
Yeah, aside from the tornadoes. And meanwhile, Wolverine fights Lady Deathstrike in the place where he got turned into Weapon X, which, yeah, I know gets retconned and stupid because of X-Men Origins. We're not going to count that.
It also shows up in Apocalypse.
Wait, especially because like here it shows that the claws were not originally bone; they were magnetic. They're mechanical and were installed into his body. But then later on, they do the bone claws thing from like the more current comic stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Meanwhile, Scott and Jean are fighting because Scott's under the mind control, and Jean kicks on the Phoenix stuff at one point, and what it does is it actually overloads all the generators into place.
And causes the dam to start bursting. Thankfully, Cyclops gets, I think, hit hard enough that he's just like, what?
Yeah.
What's going on? And so them and Storm and Nightcrawler have to get Professor Xavier and the kids out. Meanwhile,
Rogue flies the Blackbird.
Rogue flies the
completely
Blackbird
scared shitless the entire time.
Wolverine has Stryker and he's gonna fucking kill him until he realizes that like everyone's gonna die unless he tells them to get out. So he makes his choice. He decides, I'm not gonna kill you, but I'm gonna stab you anyway so that you won't get up so I can have this conversation once I get everyone else out. Then Magneto I thought at first he was gonna
pieces.
Well, he ties Stryker to a rock, I guess, to drown him. I'm like, I thought he was just gonna use the chain to just flat out like strangle him till his head popped off. But yeah, he ties him up and then he pieces. Pyro goes with. You know, everyone gets on the Blackbird. Unfortunately,
the controls are completely shot.
And it's not gonna work. So Jean goes out and realizes because the dam is already starting to burst. She's gonna use her powers to, I guess, start the plane as well as try and like block the water. Which I'm like, you couldn't have done that from inside the plane.
Well, I think a lot of it was she was actually forcing the Blackbird up.
Yeah, I kind of get that.
It probably would have been easy. The engines,
which probably would have been easier for her to do outside into an idea. Yeah. But basically,
she says goodbye to everyone using Xavier, which is like that scene is for me as a Jean fan is really heartbreaking.
Yeah,
honestly.
Especially because Professor Xavier knows the entire time what's going on. And then she dies. Well, dies. This is X-Men and she's the Phoenix. She doesn't really die.
Scott's actor in this, he does a pretty damn good job in this scene.
Well, him and Wolverine actually do, or Jackman do a really good job in that scene. Because even Logan's like, she's gone. She was caught.
Don't say that! Like, and he just, he just like
embraces Scott because like he's like, no, I get it. Like we both loved her, and you know we have this really bittersweet moment. You know they won the day, but the day was costly.
So, in the meanwhile, president is gonna do a speech about all. But yeah, they show up and they're like, here's all Stryker's documents proving that he was doing all this shit behind everybody's back. How did you get these? I happen to know a little girl who can run through walls. I'm like, obligatory Kitty Pryde reference.
And so basically he's like, Xavier's like, we're not here to like rule over you or cause any problems. You have to make a choice.
We're here to stay.
We're here to stay. We'll be watching. And it actually works out because the president's like,
oh, they have a point.
They have a point. All right. Which is weird because the president changes actors between this and the third film.
I know, which is really weird. I don't know why that was. It's one of those things that's just really weird.
I guess it's been like there was like an election in between. But I guess. And it ends with like Cyclops being all mopey.
No, it totally was because remember 2004.
Oh yeah, I guess it was.
2004 was an election year.
Oh yeah, I guess it would have been.
Shit, actually, yeah, it makes sense. It was an election year.
All right, I thought that was a plot problem, but you know what?
No, we'll let that. I'm gonna let that one slide.
That's fine. All right,
it's actually an election year. Okay. Give me explain away.
Okay, all right. And like Cyclops, we see like his character development into becoming just completely,
He does what Cyclops actually did post Jean death, which was I'm gonna leave the X-Men for a while because I need to get my head in the right space.
Yeah.
And the end of the movie is we have Jean doing another dialogue, and then we see the Phoenix underneath the water.
Yeah. Shame that's not really how Phoenix goes. So getting into X-Men Last Stand, and Man, the writing in this movie, it really feels like I'm reading a comic book event. A bad comic book event.
It's Onslaught.
Yeah, kind of like that. Because you have characters that are only in here because they need to, as service to the plot. You have pointless death. You have all these characters that are C and D listers that just are there to die. It really does feel like I'm reading a really bad comic book event, and I don't know if that's on purpose or if it was. I mean, obviously it wasn't, but it really does feel like it's something I'm like a really bad comic book event when I read it. It's I don't necessarily think it's entirely bad, but it's a chore to get to the good parts. Which, that's all I'll say. I know you'll defend it, and I can defend some of it.
I'll defend it, but I'm not so ignorant to be to admit that I am defending it based on the fact I'm looking at it through some nostalgia-themed glasses.
And I don't think it's as bad as everyone makes it out to be. I'll at least admit
people make
that.
this out to be like Elektra, and I'm like, this is eons more
Or
watchable than
Blade
Elektra.
Trinity, and I compared to Elektra or Blade Trinity, something that came out around the same time. This is so much better than those. But I will admit, it does have a lot of problems. When you brought up Batman Begins or Dark Knight Rises, holy shit. These have a lot of the same problems I have with that. So this film opens, it opens actually with Professor Xavier and Magneto back in the day going to recruit Jean for Professor Xavier's School for the Gifted. And we, of course, see that Jean is way more powerful than we ever saw her in the rest of the films. She's lifting cars and
which ties into the end of X2 where Xavier's Jean was always hesitant about her powers.
Yeah. And it kind of explains that there's something a little bit different with Jean. And then, of course, it goes into the opening where, the next part, where it shows Warren in the bathroom trying to rip his own wings out, and his dad sees him covered in his own blood, and he's just like, "Oh my God, I'll help you, son. I'll use my money to save you.
I'll use my money."
Well, because to be fair, I give credit where credit's due. I at least like that Warren's dad he's not doing this because he thinks
mutants are evil.
He thinks, no, they need help. And to be fair, given what happened to Warren, I can kind of sympathize with him. I don't think he's right, but I get why he does it. But what are your thoughts on that?
It's okay. There wasn't a lot there, in my opinion.
That's fair. Yeah,
this was really, in my opinion, the beginning of them trying way too much, way too soon.
Yeah, because as much as they hinted,
which can be the case with a lot of these movies, sadly.
They hinted at Phoenix in the first film, but I kind of feel like they could have had another film where Jean is trying to control her powers and then loses control.
Yeah,
because here it kind of feels like they.
And this is gonna be. I'm gonna bring this up because I've always thought about this in recent years. It feels very much more like they weren't writing Dark Phoenix Jean, as in they were writing Madeline Pryor Jean.
Okay, you know what? That does actually.
Which, as someone who RPs on Discord and Tumblr, I've always used FOMC for both Jean and Madeline.
Which fair.
Because I think Dark Phoenix Jean works really, really well for Madeline.
Actually, you do bring up a good point. Yeah.
So I think maybe with this, they were trying to blend the two.
But it doesn't really. It's a little weird.
Because there's also parts in this film where Jean snaps out of it and is where she tells Logan to kill her.
Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah.
Kind of hinting that it's not the Phoenix is completely controlling her at that point.
She's able to at least free herself from it. But then, so basically
Scott dies.
Yeah, well, we have we see that Professor Xavier's worried about the cure, and he kind of just has decided that Storm should take over for him as the leader of the Institute. And Storm at first is but I always thought you'd give Scott that. He's Scott, I don't think is going to be anywhere he was going to be. He's a changed man. And then of course Scott leaves, which he basically leaves to go to Lake Alkali to die. But basically, Logan even tries to help Scott's I think you need to move on, man. Like, she wouldn't want you to be like this. And Cyclops is like, you know, not all of us can heal as fast as you, Wolverine. And then he just storms off, which I kind of like that. Where, like, you know, I don't think Logan is like...
He's not doing it to be vindictive. He's trying to help him.
Yeah. You know, and the reason Logan's able to do that is...
Honest, there's a lot of shit Logan has never gotten over.
Yeah, well, and to be fair, like, with Logan, it's just...
I can't remember half my fucking life.
Well, half my life, and, like, when he does know he's lived a lot longer than he has, like most people, he's probably had to deal with the fact that, like, I'm gonna watch a lot of people die. I have to kind of accept that, like, I'm gonna be around for way longer than anybody else. So I kind of have to accept that they're gonna die and try to move on so I can have a life after my life is over, if that makes any sense. But, like, I don't think he's necessarily completely moved on from Jean. I think it's just more like he's like, Jean wouldn't want us
to be like this.
To be like this. You know, because he loved her too. Like, regardless of your feelings on the Wolverine, Cyclops, Jean triangle, he does love Jean. And so, you know, he goes out to Lake Alkali. Jean comes out of the water, and meanwhile, like, she starts to, like, float in all sorts of stuff, showing that she's not in control of her powers, and she wants to see Scott's eyes, and so she takes off his glasses, and for some reason his powers don't activate, which I assume is because of the Phoenix.
Jean can do that. Jean's done that before.
Well, then, like, it's
specifically
also,
with the Phoenix.
Well, then, like, you could argue, like, that's also, like, her psychic powers are able to actually control the switch that Scott should technically be able to have, because that wasn't, like, the whole story with Scott, like, he could control his powers at first, but then, like, he had an accident, like a concussion or something, and it made it...
He had the concussion, and that's what kicked it off.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't have any control over it.
Okay. I couldn't remember how that worked, so forgive me about that.
They don't really ever bring it up in here.
Fair.
I know it because comics.
Yeah. And so, you know, like, Cyclops goes in for a kiss, and then we cut away, but it's implied that he died there, which... Oh, my God. That was such a comic book thing where someone dies off panel, and I'm like, oh, I hate it. I remember hating that so much when we got to that point. But meanwhile, like, Wolverine, like, and Storm are constantly fighting in this film, and it's really aggravating to sit through, because it's like, you need to pick a side, Wolverine, and I'm like, okay. Oh, and meanwhile, we find out that the Secretary of Mutant Relations is Beast, who sadly only shows up for this film, which is a shame, because I would have liked to seen him in the other films.
Yeah. Well, there's a cameo of him in 2 when he's human.
Yeah, that's true. But basically, like, it's kind of implied that he's a graduate of the school, which, I mean, he was, because, you know, he was a member of the original X-Team.
Like I said, it's a case, again, of, I'm like, did they not do him because they felt they had way too much going on, or did they just not know how to?
Yeah, I mean, if I had knowing what we know now, it would have been kind of cool if he was just like a teacher. Like, he used to be an X-Men. Yeah. But he's like, you know, I kind of just want to be a teacher. I did the whole crime fighting thing. I'm cool. But I actually do like that he's like a member of like the cabinet, like the president's like, no, I want a mutant on my cabinet because I want to try and
surprisingly progressive.
Yeah, surprisingly progressive. And then of course, you know, like they're looking for Magneto. And then they find out about the cure, and so basically, you know, Beast is like, you know, wants to talk to Xavier and talk about, like, you know, a cure is coming, what should we do, and kind of talking about, like,
what are our options?
What are our options? And at that point, Jean's powers activate enough that Professor X can sense her, and she's calling for him for help. So he tells Logan and Storm to go to Lake Alkali, and they find Jean, who's now unconscious on a rock, which at first I almost wondered if that was supposed to be kind of a reference to the story where, like, her consciousness was separated from her for a bit and, like, was in, like, a clone body, and her body was actually in, like, the San Francisco Bay, like in the story.
Hashtag
comics.
Not gonna go there.
Yeah, because I don't even want to try and talk about it.
I tried to explain it to somebody one time, and I'm like, you need a dry erase board to explain it.
And it's because of the Spider-Man clone saga, so we're not even going to go into it. But basically, they find her and they find Cyclops' glasses. They don't know what happened to Cyclops, but Jean's not able to talk, so they take her back to the mansion, where Professor Xavier reveals that, like, basically her psychic powers were so strong they manifested into like a sentient separate being inside of Jean that was anger, joy, all these extreme emotions, which they called the Phoenix.
Which, as someone who again adores the Dark Phoenix saga, I have the damn hardback omnibus. As someone I'm like that, I'm like, man, that is kind of.
And this comes from a point where, because like I get why they didn't want to
do the cosmic shit.
Yeah, the cosmic shit, because like these movies were pretty grounded, other than like, there's just mutants and humans. If they bring aliens into it, it probably would have back then annoyed a lot of people. I wouldn't have been annoyed by it. You wouldn't have been annoyed by it, but I get why they did it. But even here, it kind of comes off as like Professor Xavier literally had to neuter Jean because like he was afraid of what would happen. Of course, then this causes him to have a falling out with Logan for a bit, because like Logan was like you took away her choice. And so, and Professor Xavier, one of the really weird moments in this movie is like, I don't have to explain myself to you, which I'm like you could have just said like, I didn't have a choice.
Yeah. So then we get the scene, the infamous scene of Jean and Logan like almost banging on the exam table, which
is not nearly as kinky as or hot as you would expect. Because she uses her nails to dig into his arms, and like she literally like pulls his arms open. I'm like, oh god. But of course, Logan eventually realizes this is not Jean, this is the Phoenix.
Yeah, and so Jean rejects that and leaves.
Oh, which has that really awesome scene where like he's like, we'll get Professor Xavier, he can fix you. I don't want to fix it. And then she throws him out of the med bay and just leaves.
The special effects for the Dark Phoenix portions are really, really well done.
Yeah, they are really. I like the black effect that like
later on they do the red.
Yeah, the red eyes. Yeah, like they do a really good job of showing like how dangerous and scary the Dark Phoenix is. And then of course she leaves. Meanwhile, Magneto frees Mystique from this caravan that was carrying her, a couple other mutants, and the Juggernaut.
Just keep going.
Yeah. And so basically, like, one of the guys that, like, in the caravan has,
I don't mean to rush. I'm just I'm worried we're gonna run out of time.
That's fair. They hit her with a special tranq dart, which using plastic guns, which was hilarious when you hear like Lee Ermey, the guy from like Full Metal Jacket, being the ones trade in your metal guns for plastic guns. Jesus Christ. I'm like, are we in Full Metal Jacket now? What?
What the fuck?
Which I mean, I give them credit for like having like plastic weapons ready to fight Magneto. They of course demutate Mystique, and then Magneto fucking just abandons her. Which, yikes. That doesn't really look good on you.
So then we move on. We get this scene with the infamous scene which they do again in Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
And it's still not done all that great. Where
Magneto and
Jean's at her parents' house, and she ends up just killing Xavier.
Oh my god, that was really, like, it's not. Granted, it's not nearly as horrifying as like, because it seems more like Jean just lost control of her powers and disintegrated him, and that in the Phoenix, like, it wasn't like Jean did it; it was the Phoenix that did it. So it's not as bad as Dark Phoenix. Still pretty bad. And then, of course, she joins up with the Brotherhood. Basically, Storm's, like, trying to rally the X-Men together to try and figure out, like, what they should do now that Professor Xavier's died. Wolverine is, like, trying to figure out some way to rescue Jean without having to kill her. And he goes off to try and find the Brotherhood using his ability to smell Jean. We get this cool scene where, like, Wolverine fights a couple of the Brotherhood of mutants. But then, of course, before he can, like, snap Jean out of it, Magneto shows up and uses his magnetic powers to just fling him through the woods. Oh, and then we get this really, but basically, it's war. So Magneto gets his troops. He manages to escape the army by using what is Jamie Madrox's? Is it the Multiple Man?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, the Multiple Man. I want to say his name is like the Multiplication Man, but it's Multiple Man. I actually love that because she tricks the army into thinking that they've surrounded his troops, but it's actually just Jamie making all the like. I was like, that was actually a really cool scene. Shame after that, multiple bandits out of the film. But basically, Magneto takes his forces and puts them on the Golden Gate Bridge and uses his magnetic powers to rip the bridge off and use it to make a bridge so they can get to the Alcatraz where the cure is being held. And then all-out war breaks out. And so basically, Wolverine gets the rest of the X-Men, which is basically him, Storm, Kitty, Iceman, and Colossus. Was there one more? I feel like there was one more. I thought it was like 6.
I can't remember.
I can't remember. But basically, there's like 5 or 6 of them going up against an army. And they go to Alcatraz, and and then Angel shows up. That's right, Angel shows up to rescue his dad. And so basically, they have this big fight, and it's actually pretty cool for the most part.
I still love the scene where Wolverine's lobbing at motherfuckers' arms off, kicks them in the balls, grows those back. That was great. I know it's cheesy.
No, that's
my God, it's fucking hilarious.
That was hilarious. I actually loved it.
Hilarious.
I actually love Wolverine, like, being able to help them out, and like we get to see them all do cool stuff. And like they even figure out a way to defeat Magneto by hitting with the tranq darts to take his mutant powers away, which was great. And you get to, Beast. That was right. Beast was with them. That was it. Beast.
I forgot it was Beast.
Which I love. He's like, this uniform used to fit me better because Kelsey Grammer's a bit of a big fella. But and of course we also have the scene where Kitty runs away from the Juggernaut.
Fuck you. I will defend. I still love that scene. Calling him a dickhead.
I mean, granted, I did like the part where Kitty actually uses her powers to sink him into the ground, which should have stopped him because he's unstoppable. But if he's not moving, you can stop him. Something can stop the Juggernaut. But although admittedly, that part where Jimmy knocks his powers, that was pretty hilarious. Even though it shouldn't work like that because, well, Juggernaut's not actually a mutant. But and so basically, like, they managed to stop the army. We actually get to see Bobby go into his full Iceman look for all of 1 second. And he stops Pyro. And basically it looks like, the Brotherhood is lost.
And then we get Jean turning motherfuckers into ash.
It's not over! Nothing is over! And so basically, Wolverine tells the other X-Men to fall back, get everyone off. He's the only one that can survive this because, of course, his regenerative factor lets him. And so basically, he walks towards Jean, and we get this really sad moment. Like all of Logan's shirt gets ripped off because I think Jean even subconsciously wants to see some of that Hugh Jackman muscle.
Everybody does.
If
I had to pick a dude.
Like Wolverine makes one last plea to try and get Jean to snap out of it. And when he sees it doesn't work, he uses his claws to kill her. Which
and as she's dying, you can tell by the look on the way she's looking.
She's relieved that she's not going to hurt anybody else. And of course we get the scene where Wolverine cries. And basically the film ends where basically the president has given Beast the right to be the leader of the UN for mutant relations. Storm has taken over the X-Men Academy.
Wolverine, I'm fucking leaving.
Actually, he doesn't leave in the end of this. He
still, it's like I remember that was my running joke was with every movie. I'm fucking leaving.
Yeah, but to be fair, it seems like Wolverine's I had to kill Jean, but things are starting to look good for mutants. And of course we get the scene where Rogue did get the cure so she can touch Bobby, which I'm glad that was from one scene and goes nowhere. And of course the movie ends with Magneto, who didn't get arrested, in a park
trying to move some fucking chess
with his powers. Then the credits roll, and then we get an end credits scene where it turns out Professor Xavier put his mind to this comatose man and talks to Dr. Moira McTaggart, which, thanks for putting her in here for like a minute. Glad that's there. And then that's how the trilogy ends. Not with a bang, but a whimper. And yeah, that is X3.
It really felt like after X2 they had hit such a high and they just
yeah,
didn't know where to
what
fucking go. Like they knew they wanted to do Dark Phoenix, but they didn't know how to do it.
Yeah, and I feel for them because like I get doing it,
And also, Chris Claremont wrote the novelization.
which probably is a lot better than the actual movie. But
I need to read it one of these days. I do own it. I have the novelizations of all three.
honestly, as much as I'm glad they tried doing Last Stand, I kind of wish they would have done something a little different, like maybe Mr. Sinister, or like I guess Apocalypse. But like, you know, like I said, I get why you like it because there is some good to it. The problem is it takes a while to get there, and especially because like again, like you have all these characters that either lose their powers or just die, and it just kind of like it hurts to get there. Basically, probably in my opinion, of the three of them that I really liked the most, it was X2. I thought X2 was like probably
X2 is without a doubt the best of the three.
Because again, it really is focused on Wolverine and the subplot with Trask. Or not Trask. Stryker. Sorry.
What the hell are you thinking of?
The guy in the three that... who's the head of... His name is the head of the...
Okay.
Because they had the guy who's the head of the Sentinel program, and he doesn't make Sentinels. There's a Sentinel in X3 in the Danger Room, which... Thanks. Especially because, like, the way it opens, you think it's, like, doing Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
And then it's just a fucking...
The training sim.
That's like some bullshit happening in, like, you know, like the fucking, like, if you're watching Star Trek and, like, the Enterprise is, like, gonna crash and it's a fucking holodeck sim. To be honest, I get why that pissed a lot of people off. I knew it was the Danger Room, but at the same time, I'm like, wait, when did the Danger Room were ever in these films? I didn't even know there was a Danger Room.
When they show the sub stuff, it's mentioned.
Okay, because like it was like when they show Cyclops training in the first film, he's just having Jean throw clay pigeons.
They also train outside.
I mean, I know they do that, but like,
Adam, you want too much from a movie. You want all the birds and whistles.
I'm not asking for them to use the Danger Room all the time. They could have at least brought it up in the first film, so it didn't come out of nowhere. But yeah, like 3 was kind of hard for me to sit through. Not like in a bad way, but it just from the way that they treat rogues wanting to be normal to, or at least be able to touch people, to like some of the weird like scenes where it kind of feels like they flip like in like their character development or what they were saying before. You can tell it was very rushed. That night, you know, at this point, I think was when we all realized Bryan Singer was a fucking terrible writer.
Yeah. As well as being a completely terrible fucking person in general.
Yeah.
Like, some of the stuff that has come out recently about the behind the scenes on these is like he is a piece of shit.
Yeah, like I don't understand why they kept using him, especially when you can clearly tell he doesn't like superheroes. Like, I guess like they thought like, well, you know,
it worked for the first two.
Or for the first two, and like, you know, we've had other directors who didn't want to do these, and they made bang up films. I'm like, yeah, but they still have to be talented.
Of which he's not.
Of which he's not. Like, my God, there's so many fucking cringe lines in these movies that, like, I think he thought were cool. They weren't cool. Granted, there's some decent writing, like the scene where, like, they try to figure out if Mystique is Wolverine or not. You're a dick. Okay, it's him. It's Wolverine. But,
Got any beer?
No, any beer? This is a school. I did love that scene where he gets what is they have bought like glass bottles in the expansion? I'm sorry. Like, I don't care how rich Professor Xavier is. Buy some fucking plastic pop bottles. That was the most blatant product placement too, where the Dr. Pepper. I'm like, gee, I sure could go for a Dr. Pepper right now.
But
yeah.
Yeah, if I was going to rank them, it would definitely be X2 is the best, X1 following it, and then X3. Again, I like X3, but it has so many fucking problems compared to the other two, and the other two are just more concise films.
Yeah, exactly. Like, X3 really feels like it could have been like 2 movies, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think they really should have done like all the Phoenix stuff in one film, and then had The Last Stand be in the next. Then, like, not killed Cyclops. That would have been nice, but otherwise, yeah, I would pretty much rank them like that: X2, X1, and then X3. If I were to give them ratings, X2 would probably be, I'd say a solid 9 out of 10. I think it's definitely really, really good. X-Men 1 would be probably an 8. X3, I'm probably going to give it a 6.
Okay. 7 out of 10. 9 out of 10. Probably a 4.5. Solid 4.5. And again, that hurts me because I like that film, but I gotta be. I'm trying to be critical here.
I gave it a 6 mostly because for all its flaws, I could at least follow the film and at least.
Okay, I've seen worse films.
Yeah, like so, my rating is more like anything below a 5. It's because it's junk. Like Dark Phoenix, I gave a pretty low score because it was junk. It was junk, and well, not that like the editing was
unfinished.
it was edited poorly.
I watched the work
print.
Yeah, I watched the fucking work print.
Like, I gave this a 6 because like it's not average, but it's not getting above an average. That was my basically my thought process on this. That being said, I do think we're going to be getting some decent films as we go through these. It's certainly ain't going to be the next one we watch though. Because the next one after this is X-Men Origins. Yeah. We might need to put some other films with it, though, because I feel bad. You have to, like...
You want to pair that with Wolverine?
Yeah, let's pair that with the Wolverine.
Let's just...
Because...
Here's the real question. Do we want to do that and then have Logan be a separate film?
I would definitely say... Because Logan... Because there's a lot to say about
If we do Wolverine
Logan.
And Origins together, it's at least going to be like, okay, we at least have something good to talk about. It's not just going to be a shitting on a movie. We can kind of
do, like, a comparison thing, since both are basically... trying to do an origin story for Wolverine.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's
do that. So yeah, overall I am glad we watched these, especially because I realize I get why people like these films. Being someone who's not really an X-Men guy, I also see like the good and the bad. I think it helped that I'm not an X-Men guy, so I could see the good stuff while also being able to see the shit. But I think these are still pretty good films. I don't know if they hold up as well just because of like some of the CG and some of the really dated stuff in it. Like,
wait till we get the Blade.
No, God.
The PS2 graphics.
Tomorrow I need to buy that DVD set so when we do Blade, we can finally just watch it.
Yeah.
We need to figure out time to do Blade. But yeah, what your thoughts on this little experiment we did?
Overall, love them. If you haven't watched them, watch them.
They're easy to get.
Yeah, they're easy to get. They're cheap as hell. I mean, I bought these at Big Lots for like $5 a piece. Which I think I spent like $50 today because I bought a bunch of those movies I was missing.
I kind of do hope that
I could have bought First Class today and I didn't do it.
I do kind of hope that whenever the MCU gets to X-Men, we get these re-released. It'd be at least nice just to.
Well, and they just did them in box sets not too long ago.
Oh, they did?
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Steel books.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. They did do steel books. I remember you bought a bunch of them.
I didn't buy those. I have Logan. I have a couple steelbooks. I have Logan, Deadpool, and Days.
No, that's right. You thought about buying some.
I thought about it.
Yeah, you thought about it.
Now they're expensive as fuck online.
No, that's fair.
Should have bought them. But anyway, guys, I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode. A very long one, but we hope you stuck around, enjoy the ride.
Yeah, and you come back for the rest of the Good, the Bad, and the Wolverine.
We're sitting through Origins for you fucking people.
Yeah, we're sitting through Origins.
Just give us a chance.
Well, he's sitting through Origins. I don't need to see it again.
I'll make you watch it again.
What the fuck? I don't want to watch it again.
Clockwork Orange style.
Fuck you.
But anyway, guys, I'm Average Joe Squad.
I'm Zangetsu 134.
And as always,
we ask you.
Remember the hyphen?
And schnicked.
And remember, this is a school.
Bub. Schnick bub, bub, schnicked bub.